Hey guys, we're back with some more evolution. So today we're talking about artificial versus natural selection. The definitions are going to seem wonky, but I'm going to break it down and make it nice and easy for you. Artificial selection, the formal definition, the process in the breeding of animals, in the cultivation of plants by which the breeder, a human, chooses to perpetuate only forms having certain desirable inheritable characters. Humans control the breeding process by picking the traits by breeding the best of the best. Heritability is the proportion of an observed variation in a particular trait, such as height, that can attribute to inherited genetic factors in contrast to those controlled by the environment. Again, I'll break this down for you. Natural selection is the process that results in the survival and reproductive success of individuals or groups best adjusted for their environment that leads to the perpetuation of genetic quantities that are best suited to that particular environment. A population is the total of individuals that occupy an area or make up the whole. And fitness is the quantitative representation of natural and sexual selection within evolutionary biology. Darwin spent more than 20 years conducting his research while thinking about the way that evolution will occur. He found influences in his homeland of England after his time on the HMS Beagle, where he researched the work of farmers and breeders into picking the best of the best to continue to grow or breed for sale. And he found three things. First, that he called artificial selection, where humans change a species by breeding for specific traits. Artificial selection is controlled by humans. He called it artificial because it's not a true version of evolution. It's artificial, it's made up, but it's still happening. He noticed heritability. This was the ability of a trait to be passed down from one generation to the next. In natural selection, the mechanism by which individuals that have inherited beneficial adaptations to the environment will produce more offspring on average than other individuals. In natural selection, the environment or nature, right in the name, is controlling which traits are best. Artificial selection would be us breeding a dog for a specific trait, humans breeding dogs. Natural selection would be a long-haired rabbit and a short-haired rabbit put on Antarctica. The long-haired rabbit will survive better because it can stay warmer than the short-haired rabbit. So nature would select for the long hair. The short-haired rabbit would not make it until reproductive age. We had a scientist by the name of Thomas Malthus who proposed that resources such as food, water, and shelter were limited to limiting population growth. Believe it or not, food, water, and shelter are the only three things that every single species on Earth needs to survive. And his example that he said was the human population would continue to grow exponentially if all resources were unlimited. However, limited food supplies, limited water, and limited space, as well as disease, are keeping the population smaller. We know this. We are living through a natural selection process as a human population right now. The COVID-19 pandemic is a disease that is wiping out those that don't have very strong immune systems. It is, in a sense, natural selection happening before our eyes. We are also running out of food, water, and shelter. The human population can only fit about 10 billion individuals on planet Earth. We currently are sitting at about 7.8 billion people on Earth. And that number is constantly growing every day. What are we doing to find the food shortage? we're leaning on more processed food or food that's not natural. Things like fast food restaurants. Water, we are trying to clean the ocean water so that can be drinkable to us. And for space, we are either deforestation, where we are tearing down the rainforests, but currently we're in a space war. We're trying to find if we can colonize another planet. And I know that sounds crazy. We've already ruined the one that we're on, but we want to live on another one too. A population is all individuals of a species that live in a defined area. You can define a species as, or a population as the population of room 202, the population of Pelham High School, the population of the town of Pelham, or the population of the world. You're defining what your species is in your perimeter. Darwin noticed that the Galapagos finches on the Galapagos Islands, where some individuals had variations that were particularly well suited for their environment, though they still looked like they were of the same population. He noticed short-beaked finches for those that were insect eaters to large-beaked finches to those that needed to crack open seeds. All of these are populations, and these populations were defined by their island. Natural selection can be explained through evolution using 4 principles that Darwin came up with. Now, if you remember in The Origin of Species, he never called it evolution. He always called it descent with modification. He did use the term natural selection in his book, and it had 4 principles. Variation. There must be a variety of traits within the population for natural selection to occur. Overproduction. More offspring must be born than the population or environment can handle. Adaptation. Organisms must have the ability to adapt to their environment when their environment changes. And descent with modification. The offspring gain traits from their parents that are slightly different than those original ones. The last thing that we'll talk about today is fitness. Fitness is not, I lift things up and put them down. It is the ability to survive and reproduce more offspring relative to other members of your population. Here we have a blue-eyed cat and a green-eyed cat. We can see the blue-eyed cat was able to have 3 kittens that were each able to have 3 offspring. Our green cat, however, only had 2 offspring that each only had 2. So here our relative fitness is 3 because there are 3 offspring produced for every parent. Whereas here our fitness is 2 because only 2 offspring are produced for every parent.